Do you do a system preferences X-Hack?
Yeah, I basically just...
Yeah, because I have a separate copy of it. Then, you remove the module.
Right.
You can get around profile management if you make a...
I re-image.
Yeah, you just
All right, so hi, welcome back. VMworld 2013, Europe. Woo. We are in Europe, in Barcelona. This is Matthew Brender.
Hola.
He's MJ Brender on Twitter. This is John Troyer. He is Jay
Buenos
Troyer
dias.
on Twitter. My name is Damian. I'm a 6-foot dad. So this is the V Brown Bag Community Tech Talks. John and the social media crew are awesome and allow us to come to these conferences and do these community-driven tech talks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so something that we were talking about just a few minutes ago when we were trying to decide what to talk about, the question was, how do you stand out in a crowd? In a community this large, how does someone get started on making a name for themselves? Boys?
Go.
Well, it is harder now than it was when we first began. I mean, the VMware community per se started 10 years ago. The world of blogging started in 2006-ish. Twitter, et cetera, started 2008-9,
right.
and so those early adopters now are employed at companies all over the world,
right.
and have written books and are speakers at VMworld. So that was that generation. I do think it's a little harder now, but I think there's lots of opportunity. I'll save my suggestions, but I'll just make my opening statement is
sure.
I still think there's plenty of opportunity to make a name for yourself, and actually extraordinarily quickly, all things considered.
Oh, absolutely. And
I could make somebody famous in 90 days.
Wow.
Famous in 90 days.
I want to
huh?
see you do that.
So zero to hero in 90 days. Ask me how. This one weird old trick.
But the thing in particular that's interesting about what John just said, he said it was easier at the beginning, right?
Right.
When blogging was new, when
Oh,
Twitter was a seemingly obscure platform, which for a while it was.
Some people still think it is obscure.
But it's not. In the
not.
way of standing out, like you want to stand out. But
Right.
Virtualization, leaving the platforms that we talk on aside,
right.
the technology that brought people together was new and exciting and different, and everyone saw that it was going to be this trend that would change everything. So the few people that really noticed it and zoomed in quickly and became the authors that we're talking about and became the people that we all look up to in this industry, they adopted, yes, social media platforms to get the message out, but what they really did, they zoomed in on that technology right away. And I think that'd be the first prescriptive thing I would mention.
Yes, as I was trying to fix the screen in the background and totally messed it up.
No, the first suggestion I would give is what's new? The very
right.
first question, what is new and interesting in our industry that could potentially be groundbreaking?
There could be
Flash.
Yeah,
Flash.
I was saying
Honestly.
to somebody just to dive into a specific example. The last couple of community podcasts I've had have been on various Flash-based technologies.
Right.
We get completely sidetracked from the product we're talking about into the characteristics of SSDs.
Right.
Consumer versus enterprise. And
MLC versus SLC.
Yeah, the
people
different
get pumped about it.
technologies, the different vendors.
Right.
I actually think somebody could come along and become, I'm going to be the SSD blogger for 2013, start to exhaustively, become obsessive for 3 months about SSD, and you will become the world's resource for all enterprise guys on that.
All right, tip one.
Yeah, tip one.
90-day plan.
But yeah, pick something.
Buy
new.
soon, and John
Yes,
Troyer has your
yes.
back.
There's new area, software-defined storage, software-defined networking, all this Flash stuff.
And you already
Software-defined BS.
you immediately harumphed, which anybody that follows technology will do when you hear software-defined or
Because it's the new
dot
cloud.
as a service.
It's software-defined
So,
cloud washing.
That's why people like us have any following whatsoever, because we take the time to be like, what is this?
What's real?
What's real? What's really behind this curtain of a phrase that we're all trying to get our heads around? Because we all thought cloud was total crap at first, but now that it's been sectored and explored by a number of pioneers, you have public and private, and then you have layers underneath that of the different kind of services.
Right.
And the more people zoom in and take ownership of part of that portfolio, that idea, the more exciting it gets to people that actually implement it, which is more often than not our primary audience.
That's true. That's true. And while this is a little bit of a tangent,
Please.
I've talked about Cloud.
Cloud. Whoa.
Melwich. I've talked about cloud quite a bit from a professional perspective.
Okay.
And I always find it really helpful to kind of come in and do a level set. Like, we all have our ideas. This is how we're going to discuss cloud today. So, anyhow.
It's good to define your terms, Aaron.
Right.
Because cloud especially, everybody has their own idea. But going back to your basic question, how do you become known for something? It actually goes. It's actually a basic principle of marketing. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
Even
You said it.
Even though we're technologists,
What? Social media is marketing?
It's marketing yourself. I like that better than personal branding. But you've got to. In marketing, you have to find out what's unique about yourself and why somebody should pay attention.
Right.
So if you're going to start a blog, pick a topic, pick a small business or the healthcare or an area or a piece of technology. If you're going to start or define a resource that people like Ken.
What blog is that?
Coleman.
Oh,
Kenny Coleman.
He started he said, there's a bunch of free software, but no one's ever made them into a list.
Right.
He went out there and made a list of all the free software tools. It got him to VMworld in one of the best voted sessions.
Indeed.
Because that was something that there was a need for a list of free software tools. And you have to be kind of obsessive about it.
You do.
To do it well.
Yeah.
But again, you find a need, you make yourself, but you don't you don't just go on Twitter and blog and tweet about anything, or get a blog and blog about everything, because it might be fun, but it's not going to be focused, and there's no reason for people to come back to your blog.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I'm with John that you're not going to get noticed as quickly if you have a seemingly wide scope of interest on your blog in particular.
Right.
On Twitter, I follow about an 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time I like to talk about the tech that I'm either working on or related to, or the tech that you're working on and related to and everybody else, because that's really why I hope people follow me.
Right.
And then 20% is non sequitur, fun, goofy, the cats that we send to each other and other.
I think my ratio is actually flipped.
Okay, that's fine too.
Yeah, because over the years, I started to care less and less about technology. Really, it's just another shiny. It's faster than it was yesterday.
So here's some advice to
here's
the
my
audience.
money.
Don't do what Damian's doing and you'll do great about getting noticed. No, but honestly, what are you doing right now? You're spending free time you don't necessarily have to host and help run an infrastructure that is the V Brown Bag, which is the most true blue organic community that I see at Tier 1 tech shows around here lately.
Wow.
I'm saying that because I really do believe it. And
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and
I
the
will give you your
time-
money after the show.
Yes, it's under the table is fine. But the amount of time folks in this audience and online invest in making this a platform for people, that is the daily diligence that you need to make a name for yourself.
Right.
It's not, no one's going to drop in, parachute in, crash the scene and become the social media god of the event. It's going to be that person that's continually showed up over and over and over and given back and given everything.
Right.
And then when you need it, wow, everyone's going to follow you.
True.
The other secret then is the people that succeed, or the people that help the community the most, which are the people that can succeed, are either adding value to the conversation by collating or by adding your own unique observation. You're the only guy in Antarctica, so you're gonna you can blog about Antarctica.
I froze my bits off.
Or
virtualized polar bears.
Yes.
or you're helping somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So either you're providing value in your own unique observation, or you're helping somebody else in their career. So for instance, one of the organizing principles of the V Brown Bags at the beginning was we're going to all study for certifications together.
Yes.
So you are helping other people. And so I think that it works. Again, that's a marketing principle too. I mean, a lot of what I try to do is I take great satisfaction in helping other people in their jobs.
Right.
And I know that that's going to be win-win for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I initially joined Twitter mostly around talking to people about technology that wasn't released yet, and just wanting to be like, I don't know what people want out of this series of mid-range storage devices. So let's talk about the problems that they're having, and I just Google food or search food to find the right people, try to answer their questions, and ended up learning a lot along the way. So when you have that reason to show up, when you have a prescriptive goal for yourself, that's definitely going to get you started and keep you focused on the ends. But really, I think showing up and contributing regularly, thinking of other people first, that's going to help you as well.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm passionate about, believe it or not, I have passion, and it's not really technical.
We all know it.
Yes, I'm passionate, and it's just not about bourbon all the time. I've actually had an opportunity to go to a number of VMugs and speak here and there, right? And rather than trying to talk about technology, I figured let's talk about something exciting and interesting, and something that I can have random funny cat pictures in my presentation.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much about why you should be getting involved in social media.
Fantastic.
So I was at the Dallas VMUG a couple weeks ago, and I gave that talk, and there was a surprising number of people that weren't at all involved in social media.
Mm-hmm.
And my point was, if you get involved in social media, you will become known, right? And it's not so much about who you know, but rather who knows you.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately, not to be self-serving, but ultimately, you will need those social media connections in order to move forward in your career.
Okay.
For example, my mom works for a large company.
Yeah, I follow her on Twitter
yes,
too.
Actually, you probably don't. So my mom works for a large tech company, back in Texas. She was coming to a point where she might not have a job anymore. And she's like, well, what do I do? And I was like, if you would have started 2 years ago with Twitter, you wouldn't really be worrying right now, because you would know more people and you could say, hey, I need a job, rather than, who do I know that works around me that can help me
And
find
that
a
was
job.
a rule of interpersonal networking before social
Right,
media.
right.
Yeah, this is a new platform for a very,
Yeah.
very old skill of just
Yes,
knowing the
yes.
right people, that helping them first before you need help back, but always realizing that there's a lot of synergy to two people in one industry, where no matter what color shirt you have on today, you might have a different color shirt on tomorrow. I say
Oh
that
my gosh.
particularly at a trade show where we
Yes,
know a lot of our
yes.
friends that are in all sorts
Yes.
of organizations, and respect the people. Yeah, you can have rivalries with brands, but respect each individual, and remember that they're all part of that community that you're relying on for the rest of your career.
Right.
Yeah, but I also want to push back that I don't think everybody needs to try to jump out there and be the social media rock star of the month. Not everyone needs over
Well, it takes
100
3
followers.
months.
Well, 3 months in
3
John's
months.
formula. I'm saying, once you're there, you might want to be the top one for the month.
Yes,
But
yes.
that aside, I think a majority of the people that I talk to when talking about joining social media, it's very intimidating to think they have to be the center of attention when they never wanted to be in the first place.
Right.
So I try to say, do what feels natural to you. So maybe just find a few people that you know in real life and start seeing who they talk to, and just focus on a group of 10 people to start. Don't really stretch yourself, but focus more on giving back to those 10 people. And then as you get comfortable with the idiosyncrasies of a platform, don't sweat the platform, start building your relationships.
Right.
And it's about the strength of the relationships more than the number of them at times.
No, I absolutely agree. I believe that I have a whole bunch of acquaintances because, I know I've got a whole bunch of acquaintances because of Twitter, but I have a very much smaller number of actual friends.
Yeah, like loyal friends that you built from this.
Yeah, people that you can kind of sit down and talk to after the show, and you're like, man, life has been rough, or life has been amazing, and it's not, like you're up on a stage smiling and dancing. You're actually connecting with someone, person to person.
So what do you think, John? What are some of the other topics? You already mentioned Flash, that's a curiosity to our industry right now. Are there any other things that specifically that you don't see, or you see an opportunity to become a champion of if somebody is really coming out ready to fist fight?
I've mentioned a couple of them, area industries that you work in.
Verticals, yeah,
verticals,
like whether you're in healthcare or
stuff that
oil.
Stuff that you're in. I mean, the best things are things that you know. So things that you encounter in your daily life. That's all you can say. It's going to be individual. That's the way this stuff works. But I think you're right, though. I think it is intimidating. If the only idea is to become a rock star, all apologies to the VRockstar crowd aside, that's probably. I mean, that is a motivation. You want to do this for your career or whatever. But there is value to being a part of this group of people conversing, even if you're not some sort of rock star, right?
Part of the nerd herd.
Most of the people at this conference are not active on social media. I find it hard to see how they could do their job. But I mean, if you go to a VMUG and you say, who's using Twitter, 10 or 20% of the people raise their hand, maybe.
Right.
You know, and now people access the forums
Right.
and get technical information. People access the blogs
Oh, yeah.
and get technical information. But you know, not everybody is part of this community. I think we could still grow it, and I think
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's a lot of
absolutely.
value.
Right.
It's we're not scary, but you know, I don't want to. I can't force it either. So I don't. But I don't think everybody has to become well known and become a. I mean, work on something you love, work on something hard, and you know, work on it for a long time, and you'll be an overnight success. But you know, I don't know that that's everybody's path.
No, and
And in fact,
it really shouldn't be.
And in fact, there's a discussion in the development world right now, in the engineering, the programmer world,
Right.
In like the Ruby and those kind of communities, and there one of the paths of advancement is being social, and they have a lot of conferences, so going to speaking at conferences,
A lot of drinking.
and some of the people are pushing back and going, well, isn't it kind of a shame, because we are all kind of geeks and introverts, and we tend to like hide on our desks and
Right.
you know, be geeking out over something. And they were saying, well, isn't it kind of a shame in our industry that the path to success is you know, getting up in front of
reject
people
yourself
and speaking? And that's a shame that that's the only path, or that's the main if that's the main path, or that's a requirement, because that
Right.
can't be for everybody. Why isn't instead of getting up and telling everybody how in this particular case, in this context, it's a lot about getting up and speaking at conferences,
Right.
and which is, I think, different, because in that you're putting yourself in the role of I'm an expert and I'm telling you what's going on.
Yes.
Whereas a blogger sometimes is like, I've just made some observations. I'm not standing in front of a crowd. You are virtually, but it's a different tone usually in our blogosphere. It's like,
Yes.
I just broke my whole damn vSphere infrastructure. Let me tell you how I fixed it.
John said damn on the podcast.
And then, but that's not really projecting yourself as I am the authority.
Right.
And so they were complaining that, like, boy, we're forcing people into these authoritative roles, whereas the people that are working on interesting open source projects but might not be comfortable getting up in front of people, they don't get the recognition.
Yeah,
and
it's
so,
true.
And
It's
so
very
there is
true.
that. Not everybody has to be the person in front of the camera.
Right.
A lot of people. It takes a lot of people working behind the camera too.
Yeah, I guess
And there's a reason why I don't do video podcasts with my face on it that often.
I
got a face for
think
radio.
I have a face for radio,
the
yeah.
note to pull out of that in particular is that there's a lot of opportunity to be noticeable in our community without being the person in front of the stage all the time.
Absolutely,
There's great need for people to go through, screenshot every step of the way as they're doing something.
Build reference architectures.
Build the reference architectures, be part of the people. I mean, just a facilitator in ways. Like I've got a tech colleague that loves to, he doesn't want to be the guy that is going to stand up and shout and say, hey, everyone, let's get together. But he'll go plan an entire week so that we all can go to different places and see different things and figure out the schedule.
That's
the
cool.
logistics of that it's very time consuming. So do what you're good at and what you love, to John's point, and find those that complement your strengths.
Right.
Like, we're up here talking to each other in front. There's a lot of brilliant people behind the camera right now that we
I
rely
see them.
on.
They're all brilliant. Shiny, happy people.
So what else? What other questions do you think the audience has about making a name, having a stance in social media or in the tech industry?
Actually, I had a really good one. A gentleman at the Dallas VMworld came up and said, what are your suggestions about how I would handle getting on Twitter if getting on Twitter put my job at risk? So he
You might not
said,
want to get on Twitter.
Pardon?
You might not want to get on Twitter in that case.
Yeah, and that was kind of a tough one. He said, I can't be up there and venting a frustration about a job because that will get me in trouble.
There you go. That's that's the hook right there.
Then
So
don't do that.
well, talk.
No, I have known people who have just gone on with their first name and haven't said their workplace and
Right.
talked about the technology strictly. But that's different than going on and complaining about your coworkers.
Right, yeah, but let's pull it back
Right, yeah.
even further. Before he even gets on the platform, he perceives a risk, but the risk had to do with complaining about work on Twitter, which no
Right.
matter who we are, we're all
You should not be
accountable for
complaining
that.
about work on Twitter.
Yeah, you should. That's what
That's
DMs
for
were
Facebook.
invented for.
What?
Or Facebook, that's why
I
Facebook.
complain about work on Twitter.
Okay, but
Actually, it's more or less on Facebook.
but,
Yeah, you see,
but honestly,
that's what I
like,
said.
Because
yeah,
it's a smaller circle.
using Twitter to talk about things that are keeping your interest, keeping your attention,
Right.
learning from each other, that's what Twitter is there for. And make each other laugh. Like, that really helps a lot. I found a big part of why I lean so heavily on Twitter is because I can goof around with people
Right.
and then switch it right over to tech. back and forth, and that means a lot to me to be able to be my whole self all the time.
Did you come to a conclusion with this guy?
I really didn't, because it was a tough question. I hadn't thought about it. I did mention, and I'm sure that you guys probably know some of the same folks that I'm talking about, but there are a number of folks on Twitter with protected accounts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, for one reason or another. Whether it's because they produce content that tied back to their employer would get them fired or worse, right?
Okay.
Like there's some content on there that's not safe for work. It's for adults only, so it's on a protected account. There are others who do it for different reasons. I recently had to go through a bit of a spot in time where I had a protected account, and that's not ideal. It actually kind of sucks because it really limits the conversations that you can have. You can't tweet a hashtag. No one will see it unless they follow you. That sort of a thing.
I gotta say though, I mean, if it's a work policy to not be on social media,
right?
I would obey the policy. I would probably try to change it or switch jobs, but I don't encourage people to get fired for violating policy, unless it's some stupid IT policy, in which case.
Yes.
That's why mobile devices were invented.
Yeah, I know.
That was half a joke. So I'm glad you guys laughed.
I have also worked for a large company that they randomly decided, hey, let's turn off Facebook, and then all the social media people were like,
boo!
What?
I happen to
this
know
is my
this
job.
company.
Yes, you know this company.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I really can't think of any other questions.
I think we're good.
Ladies, gents, yes? Questions from the audience?
I don't know. We built something special here
Yeah.
in enterprise IT around virtualization and this world.
Right.
There's not many other Twitter communities or professional communities quite like what we built.
Not on this scale. I think there's a lot of really localized tech communities.
Sure.
For example, the Microsoft tech communities.
Spiceworks. I mean, there's many of them, but we built a pretty cool one, and I'm glad it's here. I'm very grateful for what everybody does. I encourage everybody to get involved.
Yeah,
Cool.
It's bigger than a platform, bigger than whether you're writing a blog or not. It starts by getting to know people and seeing how you can contribute in the blind spots the community has. So,
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time.
Definitely.
All right. Thanks, everyone.